Hey there, everyone. So we're just at time at the moment. Let me just adjust my camera, etc. I'm going to leave it maybe another minute or so to see if anyone else wants to join. So in the meantime, focus on just making yourself comfortable. We're going to have a short talk today. I'm going to give a short talk today, and then we're going to do a mindfulness practice that will probably be around 7 or 8 minutes long. So finding somewhere that is comfortable for you to sit for that long. I say sit, you might be sitting, you might find it more comfortable to be lying down, either completely outstretched or perhaps with a little pillow or bolster under the knees. You can join this session and also do the practice standing up. That works too. So yeah, any of those options. Sitting on a chair, sitting like me on the floor, propped up against a wall with my legs outstretched in front of me. Basically, wherever you feel comfortable, wherever you find you're going to be comfortable staying relatively still, but you can keep moving around if you like for that 7 or 8 minute practice. Okay, so we're a minute in now. I'll just make a little bit of a start. First, a talk, and then our practice to round things off. So today I thought I'd cover the negativity bias. So this is something that is common amongst all humans. We are hardwired, our brains are hardwired to be very good at scanning for potential negatives. So going back 100, 1,000, 10,000 years, this is really, really useful for our survival. We're programmed to be scanning for threats, so on the hunt for things that we might need to be worried about or do something about. And then we're hardwired, once we've noticed one of those negative things or experienced a negative thing or a dangerous thing, to remember it, to encode it quickly and quite deeply into our brains. And again, this is for survival. So, if we see a tiger, we are on the lookout, we're kind of scanning for threats, so we spot it early. More people who did that survived. And if we had an experience with a tiger that we survived, we'd remember quite strongly, as you can imagine, the fact that tigers are dangerous. And therefore, we want to encode that memory quite strongly, quite deeply in our brains, so that when we encounter a tiger again, we know what to look for, we can spot them more easily, and we know what to do in that situation. So these are all really, really useful ways that our brains work, that we find it easier to pick up on potential threats. And we encode and remember those negative experiences much, much more strongly than positive ones. We've evolved that way because it's enabled those people who did that survived better. We have a bit of a downside, though, I think, around this in modern day life. For many of us, absolutely not all of us, the number of sort of life-threatening situations we encounter on a day-by-day basis are a lot lower than they were 1,000, 10,000 years ago. But that our brain is still wired in the same way. We have culturally evolved massively, particularly in the last 100 years or so. Our brains are still the same as they were 10,000 plus years ago. And what this means is we're still very good at scanning for threats. Our brain has got a little thing about, should I trust that person? Or what about that situation? Or what about this upcoming thing? If you ever, like me, have had sort of struggles with anxiety, you might recognize that pattern about being very good at picking up on things that might potentially go wrong in the future. A lot of this is the way human brains work. Some of that, if it gets a little bit more impactful on our lives, can be treatable as anxiety. And the other thing is that we are still much quicker at encoding those negative experiences compared to positive ones. So, some fascinating research showed that in order to encode a positive situation or experience to the same depth as a negative one, we have to sit and really take in that positive experience for around 20 seconds, which is quite a long time, isn't it? Whereas the negative ones, almost in a flash, are encoded into our brains. Now, I find this knowledge, although it's a bit interesting and can be, oh goodness, what does that mean for my brain and how I act? I find it quite positive because it's not just me; it's all human brains. That's what human brains do. And it gives me a little tool that I can use then to start to provide some balance for my brain. So I know that it's on the hunt for and it's really quickly encoding into memory those negative experiences. So, what I can do to help my mental state, increased sense of just sort of peace or happiness or calm on a day to day basis, is to go on the hunt myself for the positive experiences. And when I find them, really sit with them and take them in with all my senses for that 20 seconds. So I am almost consciously trying to provide as many strong positive experiences as my brain is automatically finding negative ones instead of it being really out of whack. So how do I go about doing that? I'll give you a few examples. So I might be out walking my dog in the morning. Today, for example, it had just rained overnight, which is the first rain we've had for over 2 months, I think. So that was that lovely smell. I think it's called petrichor, lovely earthy smell. So while my dog was stopping and sniffing something in a hedgerow, I just took that 20 seconds to really smell that beautiful smell of the rain. Notice the fact that the ground was a little bit damp for the first time in what feels like forever. Notice that there was still a few raindrops falling off the leaves of the trees and what that sounded like. Taking that time to really experience that lovely positive moment. I won't be saying this about rain probably in 6 months' time, but at the moment, that experience of recent rain felt really, really lovely. It might be something that we can do with a nice meal. So, sitting down a few days ago and eating a nice home cooked curry. And, as I was eating it, instead of trying to engage in conversation or scroll on my phone or my other habit, which is reading whilst eating, um, really sit there for the first minute or so and taste what I was eating, really enjoying it, really, yeah, feeling the taste, feeling the smell, really appreciating what I was eating. So there are scattered throughout each day opportunities where a positive experience will be presenting itself. So the first step is kind of noticing them, I guess, and then the second is just seeing if you can take that 20 seconds to really take it in. And it can be helpful if we can use a range of our different senses, because that as well helps encode those positive experiences more deeply. So I don't know what other examples might be. It might be taking a nice hot bath or shower, or a cool one in some of the hotter weather we've been having. It might be enjoying the first few sips of a cold or hot drink. It might be, I don't know, being, with a friend or chatting on the phone to them and just, taking a moment to feel really appreciative about that time and that connection and the conversation that you're having. So, yeah, see if you can almost play a game of I Spy for positive things that happen throughout each day. They can be really small. And think about that 20 seconds, just taking a little bit of time to really allow those positive moments to get encoded into our brains. And gradually we can readdress that balance between the positive and the negative and what our brain is remembering from each day. So I'm going to move into a little bit of a settling practice now. So we're going to use our breathing a little bit to help our bodies just to relax and settle. I know breathing can be a bit of an interesting anchor point. So an anchor point is something where we try and rest our attention, often in our bodies. So I'll also give you a couple of alternatives of different anchor points if breathing doesn't feel like a useful thing for you to focus on today. So just double checking that comfortable position and posture again. So making sure that you're well supported by the surface underneath you, whether you're sitting, lying down. There's an option to close your eyes, or if that doesn't feel right for you today, you can maybe lower your gaze, or maybe just rest your eyes on something that, I don't know, is a meter or two out in front of you. Just so we're just slightly minimizing the amount of visual stimulation that we get. So we start this practice just by noticing the feeling of the weight of our bodies into the surface underneath us. So depending on your posture at the moment, that might be your sit bones, the soles of your feet. It might be the whole back of your body if you're laying down. Maybe feeling where the heavier parts of your body, your shoulders and rib cage, your pelvis and buttocks are creating a little bit more pressure against the surface you're lying on. Perhaps, if you'd like, just spectating on a couple of in and out breaths. And noticing that we can let our body sink. We can just let go a little bit more into gravity. And really let our body sink backwards into the earth. So there's an invitation now to draw our attention to where we feel our breath in our rib cage. So just noticing if there's movement in the front, the back, the sides of the rib cage as we breathe in and out. We're not looking to change anything, just to notice that gentle movement. And if you're not keen on resting your attention on the breath today, then you could perhaps pick an area of your body that is pressing more downwards into the surface beneath you and rest your attention there instead. And thoughts might come into your head as we're sitting here together. We can just kind of gently greet the thought and let it go on its way. We don't have to grab it in our hands, do any thinking around it. We can just notice it, nod, and let it pass on. Gently bringing our attention back to that anchor point. The sensations of the breathing in the chest, or the feeling of a part of our body in contact with the floor or surface beneath us. I'm just going to gently move that point of attention now, that anchor point, up into our shoulders. And just seeing if you can notice whether or not there's an echo of the movement of the breath in your shoulders. You might find there's just a little settling downwards on the out breath, or there might not be. Just being really curious about what's going on in those shoulders, any sensations. Maybe the feeling of the weight of our arms coming down out of the shoulders. There might be the feeling of our clothing, warmth or coolness. And perhaps if you notice a positive sensation around your shoulders, maybe just resting your attention on that. That they're at a comfortable temperature. Maybe it's just the lack of discomfort in the shoulders might be something positive to notice. The feeling of a soft piece of clothing on your skin. We're now gently going to let our attention flow down through our upper arms, elbows, forearms, and let it settle into our hands. There might be a very subtle echo of the breath, just gently moving our hands depending on where they're resting. There might not be. Lots of lovely sensations in the hands often, lots of nerve endings. And again, just seeing what the types of sensations are there. Temperature, perhaps. Maybe your hands are resting on the surface or another part of your body. What does that surface feel like? Warmth or cool, soft or harder. Just feeling those sensations in the hands and any positive sensations that might be there. Just resting our attention on those. My hands at the moment are feeling pleasantly warm. What are yours like? So very gently, slowly, we're going to bring this practice to a close. Perhaps just bringing a little movement into the hands that we've been paying attention to, or any other areas of the body that you feel like moving, feet, shoulders, a little stretch or a sway. The invitation is to just take a few minutes before you get straight back into your day again, to just let your body and your brain carry forward the impact of the practice together today. I really appreciate you joining me. These sessions run every month, so the next one will be in the middle of September. Please do head over to my website to find out more about courses, weekly drop-in sessions, and more. greenmountains.co.uk. Thank you very much for joining me today.